Good evening, listeners. Today I'm talking around codependency. What does the word codependency mean? Well, if we break it down, we think about co is two people usually, or a collaboration of some sorts, and dependency means a lack of independence. So if we put those two words together, codependency, we've got a collaborative lack of independence. And if we hear this term codependency, where does this word actually come from? It initially stems from poor attachments and relationships that have not been functioning or thriving with healthy attachment forms. And if we look at, what relationships are most at risk of codependency, the most obvious forms are actually addiction relationships. Because where there's addiction, as an example within parenting, there is a parent that is failing to thrive. So there's a parent that's failing to be unavailable to the child, which results in childhood neglect. That neglect is usually both physical and emotional. And with that neglect, the child then learns that actually I can't rely on anybody else to satisfy my needs. So I'm going to try to satisfy everyone else's needs. And what results is an adult who actually finds himself constantly people-pleasing and constantly needing to find their sense of self-worth or purpose in helping other people or rescuing other people's situations. So what happens with codependency eventually is a person starts feeling constantly unsatisfied, that there's this constant internal void. And with this constant internal void, they're constantly looking for different people to rescue. So these are people that thrive on trying to find out other people's problems. Because why? Because if they know what the problem is, they can try be there for the person to fix it. So they can be identified as the people that says, what can I do to help you? Or how can I fix this for you? Or why don't I go and do this and we can sort this out? So they throw themselves into someone else's situation, volunteer themselves, because in that way, they're temporarily putting a band-aid on their own internal wound of someone not having been available for their own needs. And what happens over time is they just generally function by neglecting their own needs to a point where they actually learn to struggle to identify what is their need. They're the type of people that can write the PhD on someone else, but they struggle to write that PhD within themselves. So I want you to ask yourself, if you can recognize any of these traits, it may be worthwhile to start looking at a wonderful book called Codependent No More, which is written by Melody Beatty. And Melody explains in wonderful detail how codependence emerges, mainly, as we said, through addiction, but also how it creates such a lost confusion in a person as an adult, because you don't tend to thrive as an adult. So if you're that type of person that feels massively responsible for everybody or every bad thing that happens, that is usually a symptomatology of excessive guilt that's not yours to feel, and a heightened sense of responsibility that's not yours to feel, and codependency at its core. If that's you, I encourage you to read that book, Codependent No More, to start striving, to start looking at, what do I need? And how can I start languaging myself in a different way with people to say, what do you think you may need to help you? As opposed to, what can I do to help you? And rather focus on, what can I do to help me? A far healthier way of maintaining who is responsible for what, and a far healthier way of developing healthy attachments, both in intimate relationships, family relationships, friendships, and as well work collegial relationships. It will prevent a lot of getting into unnecessary hot water or interference, despite wanting to do it for a good cause. I hope this helps, and if you want to find out more about codependency, there's tons of research, and today there's so much information around codependency, and it's so insightful when you can actually grow your awareness around it and be able to identify it within yourself. Take care.